Anonymous live stream for August 2021. This is a particularly special month for us. We are celebrating our 1-year anniversary. So welcome to everyone to help us celebrate and reflect on our past year. We're going to go through some highlights from our live streams to help inform how we can step into the next year in a good way and really help us understand where do we go from here. We're going to start with our headspace, hearing what are messages we've heard in our live streams this year, then take us to our heart space and end with our hand space. The main message that we heard from our guests was to get our people, start healing the generational trauma between ourselves, and really think about how we're bringing our head, heart, and hands to our role as white women in ending white supremacy. We're going to start with a clip from Shea Stewart Boulay, who was our guest on Martin Luther King Day this past January. She helped us discuss the white moderate, and this is a clip that helps ground us in this current historical moment.
About, for the past 4 years in this country, since Trump was elected, you hear white people, well, I've got Trump relatives, I got Trump friends, but I don't want to get into it with them. And it's like, well, if you don't talk to them, who actually talks to them? Because I'm not talking to them, and so I just think about in my own work, like challenging and continuously pushing white people to be in relationship with other white people who make them uncomfortable.
And so now we're going to listen to a quote, a clip that helps us really understand, okay, in this historical moment, as we are trying to connect with other white people about what we do, how we step into a different historical moment, we need to look back. We need to look at the root causes of what brought us here. And we had some great guests who helped bring us through that, including Dr. Jeneile Luebke and Daniela Phillipson-Garcia, who joined us on International Women's Day to really help us understand this connection between white supremacy, racialized capitalism, and violence, and take us through particularly the historical root causes of what we're seeing today. And so these are the words from Dr. Luebke.
There's a ripple effect that happens when you have all of this, this land grabbing and land degradation and violating the land for the natural resources. That ripple effect goes into indigenous communities that are located very near these projects. And in order to do all of this work and extract all of these materials, you have to have manpower. And there is a direct correlation between the pipelines, the mining, the damming, the fracking, and violence in those communities.
And so for people like my sister and I, it's really important as we want to step into a different history that we look back to what our stories are. What is our story in relation to these roots of racialized capitalism? My sister and I, we can pinpoint as descendants from settler colonialism. And so for us to think about what does it mean to be the descendants of colonizers? In our live stream on National Day of Mourning, my sister and I discussed what our roots, what our legacy is or has been, and what it means to try and change that legacy. And again, have our story be about ending white supremacy. Our guest, Sarum Pung, along with Tari Soon Lim, really helped us understand the importance of that process. In our live stream Circling White Supremacy, Sarum had this to share with us.
And so when we are able to tell our story, not on a surface level, but more in the deep and the forgotten story, that's where we're going to make a difference. And I think that the forgotten stories is the hardest one. I think with white folks are literally different because they don't ever talk about the historical trauma. You know what I mean? During the plague, during the Roman, during all the shit that you guys go through. Talk about that crap, because people die. There are millions of them dead, right? Where's the healing process as a collective, as a people? You haven't dealt with that. So, and if you haven't dealt with that, then hurt people hurt people. Does that make sense?
But to have this healing of our generational trauma, it's really important that we hear that the crucial part of that is being authentic. But authenticity takes vulnerability, which takes trust. And we understand that trust needs accountability. So how do you build that trust among each other before we engage with others? Fortunately, we had people like Kendra Hicks who helped us with words like accountability is a gift we give each other to nurture our personal growth and transformation. In our live stream, Accountability Out Loud from December, Kendra facilitated a circle with the founders of Beckys Anonymous where she pushed us to move from our head into our heart. When we arrive at these hard moments as white women, that call for us to move out of the way what comes up for us. And as you all saw on the live stream, this was really hard for the founders, even the founders of Beckys Anonymous. It was hard for us to go as deep as needed to really show up authentically, to really show that vulnerability and create that trust. And so bringing our question to that of how do we do that better? How are we building relationships in our community that develop a culture beyond white supremacy that's within a sustainable anti-racist movement that helps us show up authentically and vulnerable to create that trust? Aisha Wilson in our fall 2020 live stream provided us with these words, encouraging us to think about how we're building those relationships in our community in a good way and how white women can show up by stepping back with compassion and empathy.
How do we hold our mental health and well-being sacred and intact, knowing that this could, that we can all experience this very differently? And how do we show up for our young people? How do we show up for our most vulnerable population? So I just want to think about how do we show up in being empathetic? How do we show compassion? How do we show even our own true feelings and emotions of hurt and pain and disappointment, if that is the case? But I do want to say that I'm very hopeful.
And ending with this word of hope at that clip, that's definitely a theme that we heard throughout our live streams about how do we hold on to hope for each other? How do we grow hope in the future, in the world that we're building for our children? And really holding that up, particularly for us as white women, to think about as we're letting go of certain powers and privileges, as we're stepping back, what are we saying yes to? And what are we walking into as we do that? And so this is a clip from Nicole from that same live stream, election live stream from fall 2020.
Getting involved in anything in your community, it makes, selfishly, it makes you feel better too. And I don't mean that in like a charity white savior type of thing, more that it's how you keep hope. And if you don't, that's the design, right? They don't want you to have hope. And so building community with others and doing the work with others gives you a groundwork for that. It gives you, it gives you hope.
But getting into what does it really mean to be in community and building community, we need to be really intentional and specific about what we mean. And many of our guests helped us really understand what it means for white women to be more than allies. How do we really show up in resistance to oppression, because racialized capitalism is our common enemy? How do we, sometimes most of the time it's required of us that we are showing up by stepping back. and really understanding what that means. Kate and Ruckus from Showing Up for Racial Justice Boston took us through abolition then and now in our February live stream. They helped us understand that redistribution of wealth is essential to create a world where all basic needs are met, because all of our wealth is based on built on our white privilege. And so really specifically thinking about showing up in terms of redistribution of wealth. White women need to ask what is needed and then follow through. Kate and Ruckus pointed out, for example, housing and mutual aid being actions of abolition. Malia Lazu touched on this theme as well in our Economics of Abolition live stream in May, when she told us, look at where your money can go that can leverage change. And particularly, all of these guests highlighted that on a large scale, our budgets are a statement of our values. On a municipal level, Ricardo Arroyo in our Reparations Now live stream helped us understand how making reparations is an opportunity to invest in an equitable society for all of us. These guests also highlighted how our work is about more than just dismantling systems. It's about rebuilding our society on a foundation of justice and equality. Creating a world where no one is sacrificed and everyone is essential, as we discussed in our July Building Community Wealth for All. We're moving toward a just transition to become a part of the solution to really acknowledge what's at stake if we don't end white supremacy. In the interest of really diving deeper and pushing ourselves to orient us towards intentional actions, I'm now going to share our list of actions for this month. As always, our network will be getting this in email, but please, if you want more information and you're not on those emails, check out our social media and you can get more information about all of these actions that I'm about to list. The first is for our network. We would really love to see you join us for our Vision Circle on Saturday, August 21st. We're going to be looking at the highlights and themes that we just went over today in our live stream and use those as our first steps of thinking about what do we want to use this next year for. On Sunday, we'll have a brunch social to build community. Sorry, that's Sunday, August 29th. So the following Sunday, we'll have our Vision Circle this Saturday, and then the brunch will be the following Sunday, where we'd love to see people to be in community. If you RSVP for these events, you will get a free book sent from us called Against White Feminism that had just came out this month. It's by Rafia Zakaria, and that will be our thank you for your commitment and support. It will also be an important read to help inform, again, where we want to take the next year. Of course, we encourage people to help us grow. We've had 24 intro circles this past year. We've had 24 grow circles, 12 live streams. We've had new people show up to every single intro circle, and we have space for more. So please encourage people to join those intro circles. Our next one will be on Wednesday, September 1st, both at noon and 7 p.m. Of course, we encourage all of you, if you haven't already, or share with your loved ones and friends. You can support us through the Patreon. Those finances help fund our honorariums for our BIPOC live stream guests, some of which you've seen today. And then, of course, please spread the word on social media. As far as other specific actions that we're profiling this month, support the 90-mile march for no new prisons, September 7th to 13th. Build Up People Not Prisons is organizing a march from Springfield to Boston to protest Governor Baker's plans to build a new women's prison and to support the bills to establish a jail and prison construction moratorium. Join the march for the entire way, only for a mile or more, or at one of the events in Springfield, Worcester, Framingham, and Boston. Bring your colleagues, your friends, and your family. Here are some local surge Boston actions, but we really encourage our network to check out your local Surge chapter. It is a national organization showing up for racial justice. The local Boston action call is to call your legislatures to protect your neighbors from eviction. Although the federal eviction moratorium was renewed last week, its temporary protections are not strong enough. Call your legislatures to support the COVID-19 housing equity bill. You can also show up for August Abolition Hour, which is Thursday, August 26th from 12 to 1. Join this month's hour of political education and direct action, which will be led by Boston Immigrant Justice Accompaniment Network. And again, you'll get the information in email, and please check out our social media where we'll be sharing those actions as well. And speaking of action, we're going to close with reinforcement about why we need to take these actions, why we need to take these actions every month, why we need to create sustainable long-term dedication to these actions. And we're going to close with some wise words from Kendra Hicks and Ricardo Arroyo. But before we get there, I really want to thank all of our live stream guests, all of you who have joined us in Circle. Again, 12 live streams, 24 intro circles, 24 growth circles, and 6 public action toolkits. We look forward to continuing these discussions with our guests, with all of you out there, meeting even new people, new guests, and going deeper into the work of dismantling white supremacy with our heads, hearts, and hands. Like I said, tonight we're going to close with some final thoughts on this core question of how do we as white women show up in the resistance to white supremacy? How do we both focus on dismantling it, but also what are we rebuilding? We're going to first hear from Kendra Hicks from our live stream where she helped facilitate a circle with the founding members.
And so my question for all of you is, in what ways are you not relinquishing power in your life, in your work, or in your community? And what kind of commitment can you make to let go of some power?
This is a question we'll continuously be asking ourselves. And so really want to thank people like Kendra who really have pushed us to ask the questions that need to be asked. And we'll continue to carry on that work by helping push each other and push ourselves to go deeper with that question. The next clip is taking us even further into that question and really pinpointing for us and really pointing out the specific ways that white women can relinquish power in our lives, in our work, in our community, and really pushing us to make a specific commitment of how we show up differently to end white supremacy. And so we'll end with these wise words from Ricardo Arroyo, and that will be it for tonight. I really want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday for our Vision Circle, and then the following weekend for our brunch social. And again, as a reminder, please RSVP because you will get your free book as a gift from us. But without further ado, words from Ricardo Arroyo from our live stream on reparations.
It's being comfortable with giving up something that you have, not because of any inherent gift or privilege or skill set that you have, but because there have been systems in place that have allowed you to have access to whatever those things may be in a way that is unequal or burdensome for other folks to get or achieve. And I think that's a very difficult, heavy conversation that has really been, to me, the biggest issue, and why so many things have had to go to court, why so many things have had to get done that way by force, in terms of forced court order. It's because folks don't willingly usually give up things in this country or in life. And so when we're talking about equal rights, yes, in theory, equal rights for me does not mean less for you. Equitable access to things should not mean less equitable access to you. It means equal access. And when we start to do that, we realize, well, actually, inequitable access does mean more access for you. Are you willing to dismantle that?
And so these will be the big hard questions that on Saturday we'll be diving deeper with our members of the Becky Anonymous community. Want to thank all of you tuning in tonight for helping us celebrate our 1-year anniversary. Again, huge gratitude and thank you to all our live stream guests who were very generous with their time. We look forward to continuing to build with them as well as with our new guests in the new year. And so thank you all. Excited to see you all on Saturday and then Sunday for our brunch, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.